this is an excellent question. What advice do you have for someone in love or in a relationship with an HSP when that someone is also sensitive but perhaps less so? And that's a good way to put it, because very often they're two sensitive people, but one is even more sensitive than the other. So I think the first thing to do, I always say, is to go ahead and grieve the things that you're not going to be able to do together because of this difference in temperament. So often I tell people when they go home and they announce to their partner, hey, I'm highly sensitive, I'm sure you'll be really glad to hear this news because now you'll understand me better, and I'm so happy to know about this, so I'm sure you're happy. And the partner very often is not too thrilled to hear this news, because it means things are going to change. And now the sensitive person has an excuse to not go to the football game or not do these things that maybe they were doing before just to be nice. So you have to grieve the difference in temperament. And both sides have to grieve it, because I will tell you a little piece of research. My husband likes, like I said, he likes to study close relationships. So I brought up the subject of sensitive people getting more bored in relationships with non-sensitive people. We get bored because the conversations are not deep enough. Sensitive people, even in the most satisfying, otherwise satisfying relationships, are more easily bored by the conversations that they have. We found it's not they're more easily bored because they'd like to be riding on roller coasters. It's because that they think about the meaning of life, and they want to be able to discuss it with other people. So there are these differences that are not going to go away. It's like you have to figure out what a person can change and what a person cannot change. And there are things people can change, and it's not right to have to put up with somebody who's not sharing in the drudgery at home or something like that. That people can change. But other things they can't change. So once you have done that, then you can get creative in terms of how you're going to adapt to your differences. Like you take two cars to a party so that the person who's more sensitive can go home early, or something like that. Also, sensitive people speak in a lower volume, and I don't mean how loud you speak, but more, instead of just asking, we tend to give hints like, doesn't it seem hot in here to you, Now, would somebody please turn the air conditioning on? It's more that kind of thing. So, and they don't it's hard for them to have the bluntness that non-sensitive people use to get across their point to other non-sensitive people. So just little things like, why did you do that? What were you thinking? Those kinds of things just, I already know I made a mistake, don't pound it in. But I had one sensitive person told me that she was getting her review at work, and the manager said, well, what do you want, the good news or the bad news first? I mean, that pretty much ruined her day right there. What was the bad news? That's all she could think about. What is the bad news? So turning down the volume, my poor husband, who's not highly sensitive, we cannot make a bed together or put up a tent together. Of course, that's the ultimate test of a marriage, isn't it? But because he's always giving me orders, like now we do this, now we put the pillows up, straighten up that side, do this, do that. I feel like I'm being given orders. And he says, I'm not giving you orders, I'm just telling you what we need to do next. And I said, no, I would rather do this in silence, because I know how to do it, and it's like we could do it like a dance, like we'd be reading each other's minds, and it would be... He makes the bed. We don't try to do it together anymore. So turning down the volume can be hard. And also listening for hints. And sensitive people have to turn up the volume a little bit. My husband says I give him a 1 and a 2, and then I hit him with a 10. Or if I could just give him a 5, then he would know what I wanted and he would do it. So, okay, so those are some of the points. Let me see. Oh, yes, in the highly sensitive person love, I have the results of the first and only sexuality and temperament survey. Now you're all going to go out and buy the book. Well, I asked a lot of questions that I was personally curious about, but we found that sensitive people are very different about their sexuality, and this is an important part of a romantic sexual relationship is to get that right. And sensitive people are more easily overstimulated. They don't like a lot of variety as much. They don't need to do it in the restroom on the airplane. They find sex more mysterious and powerful. And so there was lots of interesting things there.